Om Shri Sadgurave Namaha. I bow down at the holy lotus feet of true Guru, whose words of wisdom are like mighty sunbeams to dispel the darkness of ignorance. True Guru, beneficence personified, takes the disciple to meet the Supreme Being. I offer my humblest obeisance again and again to such a benevolent Guru. Guru, whose glory is indescribable in words. Whatever little I could or would say is only because of his compassionate grace. Oh, hello viewers. We are back with another talk in this series of Santmat Satsang lectures in English. In the previous talk, we had discussed that why God cannot be seen first in the outside world. And in the next talk, we were supposed to discuss then how he could be actually realized. What should we do if we want to see him, if we want to free ourselves of all the bondages? But in between, I got an interesting comment in the nature of clarifications by one of our respected viewers, and the question that was raised is verily interesting and serious one also. So therefore I thought that if I would reply in the comment box, it may not be seen by many. So therefore it would be in the fitness of things, keeping in view the nature of the question posed, that we post the reply in the form of a separate talk, because it really deserves that. And therefore, in this series of talk, we are going to, as I discuss the question that was raised by one of our respected viewers. So, what was the question? To show that, and also to raise points that would be as a fit to answer that question, I think I would share the as a screen or the slides that I have prepared. So let me share that. I will maximize it. Okay. So this is the 10th in series of our talks we have started in English. And as already told, this is based or dedicated to a clarification on a doubt raised by one of our esteemed listeners or viewers. The point that was mooted was, I had said in the 5th of my talks that light in itself is invisible, but it makes things visible. That is, if there are things, they cannot be seen unless and until light is present. So it is the light which illuminates the things, though it itself remains invisible. Nobody can claim to have seen the light, though we see things in the presence of light. So it is the presence of light that makes things visible. And by using this analogy, I had made a statement that likewise, it is the God who lights the creation, who illuminates the creation and makes it manifest. The doubt that was raised was what is the actual implication of the word manifest here? Because if we go by the analogy, it would imply that just as light makes things visible, similarly, God makes creation visible. That is, manifest may mean here visible. And the point, and that was very, say, rightly pointed out, that observer also is a part of the creation that is being claimed to be manifest by God. So the point in question was that if the observer also is a part of the manifest as a creation, then he has to be outside the creation in order to perceive it. So therefore, does manifest mean here coming into being? That is, God makes or creates the universe. Does manifest have that connotation here? So this was the doubt raised, and therefore I thought it proper to clarify it to my limited abilities. I don't claim to be an authority on this topic, but I would try to address the poser to the best of my abilities. But before we do that, let us remember one general principle, and this would apply to my previous talks and to many other talks that may be coming in the future. That is, whenever we take an analogy to explain the features of God, okay, to various aspects of God, then any analogy, howsoever apt, may never be adequate to represent God. Because as we have seen, He is incomparable. He cannot be compared to anything else that exists. And therefore, no analogy could be perfect to describe or depict the reality or the Supreme Sovereign Lord, for the simple fact that He is ineffable, indescribable. He is beyond the grasp of mind or intellect. Our intellect tries to ascertain the nature of God, and it inspires us to endeavor to strive in the direction of realizing Him in our experience. And that is we can say, justification of our intellect. It helps us actually, or it inspires us to act or to move in that direction. Otherwise, any analogy is simply taken, its help is taken only to understand any particular aspect of the Supreme Being, that is God, and that's all there is to it. What I mean to say that if one analogy explains one aspect of the Supreme Being, and if we try to stretch that analogy and as it start arguing, that it will simply fail in explaining many other aspects of God. So we must keep the limitations of all such analogies that have been presented or that may be presented subsequently. So it would be in the fitness of things if we remember this general principle, that analogies have got very limited use, limited to any one situation or aspect of God. Now let us proceed to address the question at hand. What has been said now, that what do we mean by say God making things visible or illuminable? Now this particular aspect or act of God, it has been very clearly elucidated or enunciated and in quite details in the Vedic religion, or say in Vedanta philosophy, and say it simply compares with no other place. That is, such explanations, so detailed explanations, cannot be found, to the best of my knowledge, in anywhere else. What the wisdom of Vedanta or Santmat says, that it is God who transforms a small part of itself into creation. That is, the creation that is seen all around us, including us, is nothing but transformation of an extremely small part of God. That is why what they say in scriptures, that only God exists. Okay, God and only God. Whatever we see is God and God only. What it means, that even that which appears to be different from God, because which is not similar to God, is actually transformation of a part of God. Okay, this particular thing will take up in great details, that how different levels or planes of creation came to be formed by God. Okay, what are the different layers of creations or spheres of creation, and how, what is the sequence of their formation? This will be the topic of another lecture, sometime in future. But for today, let us understand only that it is God Himself who produced the creation. And whenever we talk of such creation or formation, then what is said, that there are two causes needed, because whatever we see in the world is cause and effect. Okay, there is one cause and it results into some effect. Now, causes are of two types generally: material cause and efficient cause. Like, say, if we take the instance of making pots out of clay, different types of pots or other, say, articles out of pots, clay, then how it is done? It needs two things. One is the clay, of which different types of articles could be made, and another thing is the potter. Okay, now the potter is said to be the efficient cause. He uses part of clay and converts it, shapes it into different pots. So the material he uses for his creation, for creating pots, is the clay. So therefore, clay is said to be the material cause. For suppose we make a glass of clay, we make a pitcher of clay, we make a dish of clay, we make different fruits of clay. All these are articles prepared out of clay. Okay, so the material that is used in creating these various types of articles or objects is clay. So clay is said to be the material cause. Whereas who utilizes using his intelligence and converts the clay into various types of varieties of articles, it is the potter. Okay, of course, he'll be needing the wheel, the stick, etc. So, all these are material causes, and the potter is said to be the efficient cause. Similarly, if we consider this creation to be an act of God, then the natural logic would require that there must be two causes. One is the material cause, the material that would be used to make the creation, different levels of creation, and this, say, person who will be using those materials to make the creation. That is material cause as well as the efficient cause. That means that if we go by this logic of the mundane world that we live in, then there has to be duality. That one will be creator and another will be the materials that have to be used to create things, to make nature. But here, if we do this, then duality will come into picture, and all the discussions we have held so far will, say, the base will be taken out of them. It will become baseless, because we have seen that beyond everything and throughout everything, there must be one entity, one infinite entity called God. And there was a stage when God and God alone existed. Then, if God and God alone existed, And a time will come again when his creation will dissolve back into him and he alone will exist. That is, there wasn't a time and there will never be a time when God did not exist. So God existed and he made creation. So if there was no other material, then how creation came into existence? Then it is said that God, that is, we'll take another one, say, this is the difference between the physical science and the greatest scientist, greatest of all scientists, that is God Himself. Scientists, as we know, and the supreme scientist, that is God. What is the difference? The scientists, as we see in the world, however great they might be, they take things from the thing or things from the universe itself and then create something else. They give formulae, they give principles which could be utilized of creating something which could be very spectacular or mesmerizing, which was never thought of by the earlier human beings. But however spectacular it could be, one thing that is for sure is that the material which is taken for all such acts of research, etc., they are taken from this very nature. That is, to put it in simple words, can we imagine a scientist producing anything, howsoever simple, minimalistic, out of nothing? If he is given the condition that you don't have to take anything from this universe and create something, then he'll say how that would be possible, how that could be possible. I must take, even if we talk of test tube babies or clones, they require materials that have to be taken from the living beings or creatures. Okay. So therefore, a scientist, worldly scientist, or physical scientist, he takes things from the universe and converts them, transform them into something else. Okay, by using his brain, by using his intelligence. But if we talk of God, then just look at this beautiful verse written by Guru Nanak. What he says, that he himself became the material cause and created everything out of nothing. When nothing other than him existed, he created all sorts of things. How? Then he is the efficient cause, he was the efficient cause, and he created the material cause also out of a portion of himself. And how that was done? That he created something out of himself by using one very small, minimal portion of his. Because even if we look at the vastness of universe, it is nothing in comparison to the infinity. So therefore, God is much more extensive or vast. And say it cannot simply be imagined how bigger he is than all the multiple universes that might exist. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that by using a small portion of his, what he did, and this is very exciting, that he used a small portion of his and converted it, transformed it into something different. That is, he himself, by using a portion of his, became something different. And he not only became the creation, but at the same time, he also permeated, kept himself pervading through the creation he himself created. Okay, are you getting me? I hope I have written it somewhere. Yes, God transforms a small part of it into creation. Okay, a small part of it is used by him to create nature. But it's not that he creates something and he remains aloof from that. No. That which has been created is him only, his transformation only. And even in that transformation he keeps indwelling, indwells that part, that transformed part also all the time. He is immanent through his creation. The creation is his transformation only, but at the same time, he also indwells, permeates, pervades, emanates through the his transformed part, that is creation. That is, he himself becomes both the pervaded as well as the pervader. A principle, this, as I said, that this could be found to be, as I discussed, explained quite explicitly in our Vedic scriptures and the commentaries that have been written on them by wise scholars. So, God is both the material cause as well as the efficient cause. And now, once we have considered this, let us try to attempt this, that how do we see, how the process of seeing happens. In order to see, three things should be there. One, who sees, that is the observer or seer. Other thing, that is seen, that is to be seen, that is the object. And if observer is also there and object is also there, but if light is absent, then object will remain invisible. So therefore light should also be there. In the absence of any of these three, seeing cannot happen. Now, in our day-to-day life, when we are alive and awake, awake, when we are awake as well as alive, then we see things. We see things with our eyes. Okay, so it appears that eyes are seeing the things. So what do we see? Eyes are the observer. There are objects in front of eye, and if light is present, eyes can see them. Okay. But if we look at the state of dream, when we are dreaming, then there also there is a world, though it is an imaginary world, but there is world. And so long as we are dreaming, all the objects or the places or the persons that we see in the dream look very much real. We all our sensory organs inside, though our externally all our senses are completely inactive, kind of dead, because even if we are sleeping with our eyes open, we cannot see things outside. Our ears are very much open all the time when we are dreaming, but we don't listen to the outside sound. We listen to those sounds which are being produced in the dream. We may be having something on our tongue, okay, like say cloves, etc., in or betel leaves in our mouth, and we went to sleep and started dreaming. So if we taste with our tongue, then we should get the taste of that cloves or betel leaves, or say part of sweet that was left by mistake in my mouth. But no, the taste that actually comes to us is what we are eating in our dreams. So that means even if tongue is there, it's not doing the say job of tasting. Ears are there, but we are not listening through them. That is, all our external senses, they have fallen inactive, and still all the functions are being performed inside. Okay, we are seeing different types of scenes. We are meeting friends, foes, strangers. We are going to all kinds of places. All different objects are seen. Who, say, what objects they are made of? Have we paid attention to that? That the persons or the objects that we visualize in our dreams, what they are made of, and who is looking at them? Because there, even in our dreams, our individuality is very much there. That is why sometimes we become very happy, or sometimes we become very sad and shocked, and we wake out of our say dream if we see something really horrible. We are falling from a height, or somebody is trying to kill us. So everything that is happening during our dream looks or appears so very real, and all our five functions, sensory functions, are doing. We are seeing, we are tasting, we are, touching, we are listening. So what those objects are made of, and who is the perceiver? Because our this body is completely, it's lying motionless in our bed. And the how it would be answered, it is our mind itself. The objects that we see, the persons that we come across, all of them are made up of mind, and the one who perceives them, the observer, also is a part of mind. So in Sanskrit, this is known as Manomaya Jagat, a world that has been created by the mind. It's mental creation. Observer is also mind, and the observed is also mind. Similarly, everything is made by God. These are simple samples or illustrations which give us hint at how the creation could be. So this uh, world that we see around us, experience every day when we are awake, this also has been compared to a state of dream by those who are really awakened, who are Buddhas, who have seen that supreme reality, and they say that we claim ourselves to be awake, but we are very much asleep, and we are, whatever we see, all our transactions, all the business that we do in this world are like we do in perform in dream. Everything is made by God, of God. That is, a part of it is transformed, a part of God is transformed. Who transforms that? God. So who has made the creation? God. What material he has used to make that creation? Him only, a part of his. Transformed that into God. And where that creation has happened? Within him only, because God is infinitely pervading. So everything that is made by God, of God, within God, and even after it has been created, made, God still permeates, is immanent through all the creation. So therefore, it may look, say, very astonishing, but those who know say that it is like this. Everything is made by God, of God, within God, and is permeated by God. Now, another question that was raised, that if I look at the screen of my laptop, which I am using to make this presentation video, then I am standing apart from this. This is the point that has been made. So if I say that God is the light that illumines the creation, then someone who is looking at the creation has to be outside the creation, was the point that was raised. Now, what I have to say here, again, this point will come in greater details in some of our subsequent talks, that consciousness that we know is broadly of two levels. One is known as individual consciousness, and another is known as universal consciousness. When we say universal consciousness, if you remember, we had talked of quintessential unstruck sound. Okay, quintessential unstruck sound, or say primeval vibration that emanated from God when creation began. This we have discussed in some of our say earlier lectures. Okay, that there are broadly two types of natures or creations. One is known as conscious creation, and another is known as inert or insentient or non-conscious creation. And again, in non-conscious, we had seen there is one part, equilibrial portion, and three parts of, say, uh, unconscious creation, which is, say, lying in a state of disturbed equilibrium. Okay. So that part which is say lies beyond the non-conscious creation is conscious creation, and that is made up of, that is made up of vibrations, primordial vibrations that emanated from God, within God, of course. Okay, so that quintessential vibration is pervading through whole of creation except God, because God cannot be pervaded by anything. He is the pervader. Nothing can pervade him. But apart from him, it is the quintessential sound, quintessential vibration, primeval, primordial vibration that permeates through the rest of creation. And all insentient or non conscious or inert creation is the result of this conscious sphere, that is primeval vibration. So that is known as universal consciousness. And that universal consciousness is present all through the universe. So therefore, even if we look at a piece of stone or mountain or piece of, say, a brick, okay, or chairs, plastic, anything, even if it might appear to be a non-living, inanimate, that also is through and through permeated by the quintessential vibration, that is universal consciousness, because nothing could exist in absence of that. If even from a small portion of the universe that universal consciousness recedes, withdraws itself, then that would dissolve, involve. I'd, I'd use the term involution, because evolution, when it evolves externally, and the reverse process, that is earth dissolves back, involves into water, water into fire, fire into air, air into space, and like that, everything finally dissolves and converts back into God. Okay, that is known as involution, inward volution. External, say, volution is evolution. So, even from a small part of the world, if that primordial vibration, universal consciousness is withdrawn, that part would cease to exist. It would dissolve back into its higher cause. So that means that all the creation is permeated by universal consciousness. But such sentient beings like us, they have got another level of consciousness also, in addition to the universal consciousness that is otherwise always present. And that is known as individual consciousness, which gives us individuality and which animates all our senses. Okay, so we, the observers, are actuated by, animated by, enlivened by this individual consciousness, even though universal consciousness is very much there. Okay, so if I am looking at a wall, then how that is happening? Because I have that individual consciousness that is known as Vyashti Chetan, individual consciousness. And that consciousness which pervades even otherwise through the whole of universe is known as samasti, in totality, holistic consciousness or universal consciousness. So it is this individual consciousness that empowers me to perceive, so long as I am alive. When I say alive means so long as that individual consciousness is there within me. So, so long as that individual consciousness is there within me, even though I am a part of the creation, I become the observer also. I look at another such persons who are also having their individual consciousness, just as I am looking at some other person is looking at me. I am speaking, he is listening. When he speaks, I listen. So all of, say, both of us are observers. And apart from us, like, say, living beings, there are non-living beings also, which are permeated by universal consciousness. this observation, it comes because of the individual consciousness. So we become perceivers so long as we are, say, actuated or so say empowered by that individual consciousness. And therefore, even if we remain in the creation, we ourselves are a part of creation, just as when we are dreaming, the whatever we are seeing in our dream is made of mind only, but the mind itself becomes the observer also. So ultimately, the power to see, when I had used, say, explained that there are three things needed for seeing. One is object, another is observer, and third is light. But even if we consider it this process, then another question that remains is that from where does the observer derive the power to observe or see? That is of crucial significance. Because a dead person, even if he has eyes, he cannot see. So there must be something which enlivens us, which animates us, and which makes us behave like, create the illusion of behaving like, say, conscious beings. What is that power from which we derive our power of perception? Okay, that is, so long as that conscious individual consciousness, if it is present in our eyes, it makes us see. If it comes to ears, then it makes us listen. If it is there in our nose, then it makes us smell. If it is there in tongue, it makes us taste. And if it is there in skin, it gives us the faculty of touch. Just as the same electric current, if it is there in a tube light, it produces light. If it is there in a fan, it produces, say, flow, wind flow. If it is there in heater, it creates heat. If it is there in a cooler or refrigerator, it cools. Okay, so it goes into different. If it is there in pump, it draws water. So the same electric current, when it is made available to different implements, those implements derive the power to function by that electric current. So similarly, as I said, that even if observer is there, object is there, but if that power to see is not there, then seeing cannot happen. Okay, so actually the things are not that simple as they appear to be. As we start delving at them in greater and greater depth, it becomes sometimes, say, mind boggling, and you feel like it will go insane. That's why it is said that that God is beyond the reach of even our intellect. So, what did we conclude? That the observer, even though he is part of the creation, he can look at the creation, he can perceive the creation, so long as that individual consciousness is present in him. And where this individual consciousness come from? This comes from God. So God is that which makes the consciousness conscious. So he is the root cause of everything. Okay, just now we saw that there are two broader layers of nature. One is conscious nature, creation, another is non-conscious creation. It is the conscious creation word, what has been referred to in the Bible. In the beginning was the word was with God, and the word was the God. This is that word. Word comes from vibration. And in the beginning, that is when creation began, then the word was with God. It is this quintessential or primordial vibration that was with God, that always is with God. And this, as it flowed outwards, it went on creating first it created a sphere of its own, a realm of its own, and then it went on creating, say, realms or creation levels of lower and lower, say, subtlety, and it went on to this universe that we live in, which is the grossest creation, grossest. And as we start moving inside, then we go on, say, entering into planes or realms or spheres which are of progressively increasing order of subtlety. They become subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler till we reach the subtlest, that is God. So even that consciousness derives its consciousness from God, and that primordial consciousness also is bound to sometime dissolve back into God, and then God only will remain. So that's why he said that God was before everything, God is there when everything is there, and God will remain when nothing will be there. So from God comes the consciousness. Consciousness again is of two levels broadly, one universal consciousness and another individual consciousness. Universal consciousness is present all through the universe, and individual consciousness is imparted to the such sentient beings which have the faculty to perceive. They are the perceivers. So though they are part of the universe they live in, they become observers also. And this power to observe, this power to perceive, as I said, is derived basically from God Himself. So, therefore, the whole creation was produced by God, from God, within God, and we as observers also can see this creation, which though is dreamlike, only so long as God illumines this creation. Okay, when I say God illuminates this creation, that means so long as that universal consciousness is present through the universe, through the creation, that creation will be there. That is, so long as God is illuminating the creation. And then the person who observes, the observer is also illumined, is also enlivened, animated, and is imparted the power to perceive, the power to perceive by God Himself. So everything elementally in its true element is God only, His manifestation only, but they are transformations at different levels. And if God recedes from any part of the creation, that creation dissolves, that part dissolves, and it converts back into its original cause, that is God. So that was what I tried to say. And though it is very difficult to explain, but I have tried to my level best. I hope I have been able to do justice to the question. If still there is some point that needs further clarification, I say welcome. And if I have failed in doing so, I humbly apologize and beg your pardon. But I have tried to my say limited abilities to address the question. Uh, this I had deliberately kept from my earlier presentation when I had said that everything is the artwork of actually vibration and vibration only. And this is the order in which, say, the creation. Soundlessness is the state of God. From it came subtlest sound, that is primordial vibration. And from it, say, further subtler sounds, that is less subtle than the subtlest sound, then subtle sound, subtle light, sound, light, and this is the sound. So this is sound of the gross universe, light of gross universe, then sound of astral universe, subtle light that is seen in the astral universe or subtle universe. And this is how we have come from here to here, and we have to make a reverse journey if we want to return to our roots. Religion, re means again, legion means bind back to our roots is the journey and is the purpose of our religion. So I hope, though I have tried, please let me know if I have succeeded in clarifying the point. And as I said, that if still there are certain points which need further clarification, please do not hesitate to put your feedback or reactions in the comment box. Thank you very much for patiently listening. Jai Guru, Radha Swami, Satyaram Sa, Namaste, Vaheguru. We'll meet again in the next lecture.